Chapter 1. The Land of Dew and Mysteries. At the very edge of the ancient forest, where morning mist lingered the longest, hiding in the shadows of old trees, lay the village of the fairies. This place, known only to the oldest inhabitants, had its own laws and an unusually refined dark beauty. An ancient oak tree stood in the center, its roots concealing a network of hidden passages and hiding places, created, perhaps, back when humans and fairies lived side by side. The fairy Lelia was the first to wake up. Her long dark hair fell in messy waves, and she took her time tidying it. Her eyes sparkled with intelligence and something only true forest dwellers understood, a weariness and calm at the same time. Her sisters, Ellen and Issy, still lay under blankets of autumn leaves, like children wrapped in the haze of dreams filled with premonitions and magical promises that usually went unfulfilled. Oh, these girls, Lelia thought each morning, glancing at her younger sisters. They would sleep till noon if they could, she mused, smiling slyly, knowing she'd have to urge them along today. Today could unveil a piece of the mystery that had haunted her since childhood. Where had their parents gone? And why had they left them here, on the edge of the world, with only a few clues and no instructions? Lelia rose from her bed and headed to her favorite garden plots. Every plant here was tended with special care, perhaps even love, though Lelia had nearly forgotten what that really meant. She touched the leaves and stems, adjusting them and gathering the morning dew, as if testing each leaf's resilience. Her fingers, graceful and calm, slid over the stems, collecting drops which she carefully poured into a silver pitcher. Dew was gathered for elixirs. And oh, did the fairies know how to make elixirs. Some were light and pleasant to taste, others strong and dangerous, sweeping everything in their path. Lelia fed a rabbit named Billy, who watched her lazily from under a lavender bush. The animals here lived much like the fairies, as if by rules no one understood. They were used to each new day bringing something unexpected, which made each day important. Sometimes, animals would gather around the fairies' house, watching her hands as they skillfully wove spells from the simplest herbs. "Well, girls, are you still sleeping?" she finally called to her sisters. "Just a reminder, I'm not eternal, and if we don't reach the sage today, you'll have to unravel everything yourselves. I'm, well, let's say, done with this for the last 5 years. Her sister Ellen, a notorious sleeper, lifted her head reluctantly from under her blanket and shot Lelia a look that seemed to say, "Leave me alone." But Lelia was the eldest, meaning her sisters, unfortunately, did not yet have the right to rebel. She smiled and pretended not to notice Ellen sighing and stretching, still glancing at the sleepy forest beyond the window. The sisters joined Lelia, and together they started their usual morning tasks. Ellen collected fresh mint leaves for infusions, while Issy swept the floor covered in autumn leaves, pretending to be very busy. Over the years, they'd transformed their village into their own refuge, still naively believing that one day they'd find answers to all their questions. Especially today, when the sage from the neighboring village had promised to come and help them untangle at least one thread of this strange story. "Someone knows what happened to us. Someone definitely knows," Lelia murmured, clearing the table of the remnants left by crows who always visited them for a meal. And, of course, just when they awaited answers most eagerly, new questions always arose. They were not children, though the forest granted them longevity. They hadn't believed in fairy tale justice for a long time. Their lives had become a search, each day bringing new echoes of the past, echoes that seemed to invite them to reach the end and understand what had happened. The sisters continued preparing for the sage's arrival, and Lelia found herself wanting to ask him more than just about their parents. In her soul lay a few other questions she had not yet allowed herself to voice. But every fairy has her destiny, and perhaps she was now old enough to take hers into her own hands. So the day began.